Gnostic unrest on YouTube presents the little pseudoskeptic Monsanto gem on the struggle of truth, having such a hard climb up to being posted in a peer-reviewed medical journal that is necessary to being taken seriously as a scientist. I can think of dozens and dozens of papers written on various topics within medicine, which will never be published for this reason. It flies in the face of the status quo and the big money people, which take senators and congressmen out to lunch a few times a week carrying votes. Sunday, January 19, 2014. Truth about the Seralini rat tumor GMO study explodes, from John Rappaport. Remember a researcher named Giles Eric Seralini, his 2012 GMO study, and the controversy that swirled around it? He fed rats GMOs, in the form of Monsanto's Roundup Ready corn, and they developed tumors. Some died. The study was published in the journal Food and Chemical Toxicology. Pictures of the rats were published. See top right, ed. A wave of biotech industry criticism ensued. Pressure built. Experts said the study was grossly unscientific, its methods were unprofessional, and Seralini was biased against GMOs from the get-go. Monsanto didn't like Seralini at all. The journal which published the Seralini study caved in and retracted it. Why? Not because Seralini did anything unethical, not because he plagiarized material, not because he was dishonest in any way, but because he used rats which, supposedly, had an inherent tendency to develop tumors, the Sprague-Dawley strain, and because he used too few rats. That's it. Those were Seralini's errors. Well, guess what? 8 years prior to Seralini, Monsanto also did a rat tumor GMO study, and published it in the very same journal. Monsanto's study showed there were no tumor problems in the rats. But here's the explosive kicker. Monsanto used the same strain of rats that Seralini did, and same number of rats. And nobody complained about it. Michael Hansen, senior scientist at Consumers Union, explains in an interview with Steve Kerwood. Well, basically what Dr. Seralini did was he did the same feeding study that Monsanto did, and published in the same journal 8 years prior, and in that study, Monsanto used the same number of rats, and the same strain of rats, and came to a conclusion there was no tumor problem. So all of a sudden, 8 years later, when somebody Seralini does that same experiment, only runs it for 2 years rather than just 90 days, and their data suggests there are problems, then all of a sudden the number of rats is too small. Well, if it's too small to show that there's a tumor problem, wouldn't it be too small to show there's no problem? They already said there should be a larger study, and it turns out the European Commission is spending €3 million to actually do that Seralini study again, run it for 2 years, use 50 or more rats, and look at the carcinogenicity. So they're actually going to do the full-blown cancer study, which suggests that Seralini's work was important, because you wouldn't follow it up with a €3 million study if it was a completely worthless study. Boom. I can just hear Monsanto felons gibbering. Well, we, the biotech industry people, published our study. We used 10 rats, and we used the Sprague-Dawley strain. And that was fine. It was especially fine because our study showed GMOs were safe. But then this guy Seralini comes along and does the same study with the same kind of rat, and same number of rats, and he discovers tumors. That's not fine. That's very bad. He used the wrong rats up, and he didn't use enough rats. He's a faker. Well, I mean, we used the same kind of rat, and same number of rats, but when we did the experiment, we were good, and Seralini was bad. Do you see? Yes, the mists are clearing, and things are coming into focus. Monsanto research clearing GMO foods for your unlabeled consumption. Dear viewer, you don't mind looking like this?